That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking. Talking the way we... It'll take us 20 times to do this.
Yeah.
That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking. Talking the way we did before the internet.
When you could not prove anyone right or wrong, all the expertise was contained in the people involved in the conversation.
We hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, that don't sound right, send us a comment. You're one of us.
From the beginning, as soon as he knew there was a raffle, when he got his raffle ticket, he said, I'm going to win.
Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We are co-hosts. I'm Peter Billin.
I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're just trying to have a conversation without fact-checking or Googling things. Those things can so easily kill the conversation. And we are not going to kill the conversation tonight because we have someone to help us with that conversation. And it's listener number one, Scott Grider. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here.
It's been a while, and I'm glad this worked out. Any thoughts about killing the conversation recently by Googling it or going on Alta Vista or web crawler?
So I had an experience this week where there was, I can't remember the subject, but it fairly got out when someone reached for their phone and pulled up the answer.
Snap them.
No, I just sat there and thought, you don't obviously listen to the right podcast.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. They're not on social media enough to see that we have a podcast like this.
At least not on my social media. Yeah.
Right.
Our podcast has already jumped in listenership just with Scott being back on here. Because his family...
By how many?
At least 5.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And get them to download all the episodes.
I tried to convince one of Christy's friends who had it today, who has a big family. I said, just get your family to download it. They don't have to listen.
That's right.
Just download.
That's just wrong.
It's not like we're trying to make money off this gig.
Not yet.
Wait, we kind of are. But speaking of lots of listeners or lots of people, we have lots of viewers on your Instagram.
We have gone viral for us. So we posted an Instagram reel today, which was a takeoff of another reel, which is called remixing. In the Instagram.
Okay.
So
all right.
this was
Nice.
You can remix off. You can allow for your reels to be remixed. It's a toggle.
Okay.
So this one was allowed for remixing. I did a voiceover on it, and it went from the time I posted it this morning, we've got 940 views, 43 views, which for us is a lot.
Hey, in all fairness, a dozen of those are used. So you're looking at it.
Yeah, so 43 were me.
Nice.
Normally, we don't get to anywhere near those kind of numbers until like after a month. To do it in just a few hours.
That's insane.
I think it's because of the video.
Well, I would suggest you do an experiment that you would go ahead and, what's it called again? Remixing it?
Remixing.
Go remix another popular reel and see if it duplicates the issue. Because if it doesn't, then the other thing that you just made, you're onto something.
Yeah, maybe so.
You're onto something.
So remix is a popular thing. Like a lot of people that I watch exclusively remix. They're commenting on other people's videos, which is very funny.
So it brings us tonight. I mean, I wanted listener number one here because of his particularly unique skill set.
He's like Liam Neeson.
Exactly. I was hoping you
would a particular set of skills.
I was hoping you'd pick up on that particular line. Very good.
I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you guys.
So I was talking with my wife, Bunny, who she works at a school here in Forsyth County, and the school only meets during the day. And they like to sit outside and enjoy their lunch at these picnic tables. And one of the things they've noticed over the past summer and as of recently is a lot of bees flying around, both the honeybees and the yellow jackets.
Okay.
And got to the point where they decided to come talk to somebody. Like, can you bring in some kind of bee expert to go? They didn't call you.
They didn't call me.
They didn't call you, but maybe they should have.
Maybe.
But they called in these bee expert to ask them, what's going on. And his response was that, oh yeah, the floods in the western part of the state have, freaked out all the bees, and they've all come over here to the Piedmont. And they're settling down around this at least this particular school. That's why there's just more of a bee population. The so-called expert.
Before our resident expert comments on this, I, from the time that he was last on the show till now, accompanied him by his invitation to a Forsyth County Beekeepers Association meeting.
Yes, you did.
It had a very interesting speaker from California who talked about beekeeping. Okay. The whole process.
How did we not have an episode on this? Because whenever I deploy the staff, we get an episode.
So I've seen him in action.
Yeah, Scott. Really? Were you?
No, I was not in action. I was only a participant, an audience member along with Cecil. And Cecil seemed to be far more fascinated than, half of our beekeepers, but he seemed to enjoy it.
Well, the thing that I learned that I still am fascinated by is that this guy says that, like in the old days, you raised bees.
Yeah.
But he said now, in modern times, you're not just raising bees, you're raising bees and
you're fighting mites, basically.
Mites. What was the name of the
Varroa mite?
Varroa.
V-E.
You're raising bees and Varroa. It's just a contest of which you're raising more.
Oh, so you're raising bees and mites.
So you're trying to control Varroa. You don't want mites. So it's changed beekeeping in the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
In this country.
Which is fascinating to me. So
it is, yeah.
So in the old days, I guess you could not.
You can have a lot less attention to your bees and have success.
Yeah. So now they have like traps and all kinds of things to get these mites.
And there's chemicals and there's all sorts of things.
I always envision honey flavored everything at such a convention or local chapter meeting. Do they provide free honey for your tea or what's going on?
No, it's a potluck. And occasionally you'll see some honey-based dishes, but generally it's your classic Southern church kind of potluck.
Oh, I think we've done an episode on.
Yes, we have. Well, it's not that kind of potluck.
I mean, to me, again, I was into the whole thing, man. So like, I won a prize.
You won a prize.
Won a door prize.
That don't sound right.
Let me talk about the prize.
Yes.
So from the beginning, as soon as he knew there was a raffle, when he got his raffle ticket, he said, "I'm going to win. I always win." And I went on to hear the story of the car he won. And the raffle started. There's a lot of prizes to give away.
Yes.
And we were getting low on the prize table. And his confidence did not waver. He's like, I said, "Are you positive tonight's not going to be the night you don't win?" He said, "No, I'm going to win. I'm going to win a prize." Next thing you know, they called his number.
Wow. What'd you win?
Well,
I went up and I knew Scott had won a.
You won too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he won this really nifty invention.
Yeah.
This guy's done.
Yeah. You can pick it off
a smoke shifter for
Almost.
It is
for those that are listening, Cecil just looked at me as he with these eyes that have lasers. I'm very serious about this prize.
Well, it's because this guy fascinated me because I think he's on to something. I love an inventor. And he makes these things, 3D prints them himself, or gets them 3D printed.
I don't think they're 3D printed. I think at least the way he described it the first time we showed it. Anyway, he manufactures them himself.
And so basically it's a choke point for your beehive. And so normally if you think about it, you've got that long slit at the bottom of the hive.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And this chokes it down to only a couple of entries.
All right.
And you can control the varicola.
Well, you're actually controlling the small hive beetles and the robber bees.
Oh, right.
So just to clarify,
no. You're the bee guy. This is why you're here.
There's going to be beekeepers listening now because they know I'm here.
Right.
There's long been means of choking down the entrance to small openings. The way these are different is it basically created a tube that goes back into the hive.
Yeah.
And that is better in that the way it's positioned, the small hive beetles can't really get into that tube very well because they would have to climb and walk upside down. That keeps them out.
Okay.
And it allows a longer area for the guard bees, the ones who keep out yellow jackets or hornets or either robber bees, to fight off. And it makes it much harder to get for
defenses line.
Yeah, it makes it much harder for someone to break through the defenses.
This sounds great.
So what I won?
Did you win this?
No, he went up and got that. So there's a prize.
What's it called?
It's not been named. This is one of our guys in our chapter who built it, and he was giving away some at the raffle. So he wanted to get feedback and how they work, and I think he'd like to put them on the market.
All right.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is the Varicola,
Varroa.
Varicola is probably
like a sandwich meat.
Varroa strips that, and they seem to be just made out of very natural ingredients. It wasn't like, I don't know if it had like a insecticide or not, but they come in a strip that fits into this runway.
Yes.
And so when I went up, I got some of the strips to give to Scott. So he could put them in his runway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that particular strip is one that the thought process is you get all the bees, bees have to come in contact with it. And rather than putting them on top of a frame, only a certain amount of bees are going to come in contact. But every bee who comes in and out will be in contact with it in that little runway.
And Olivia went with us.
Yeah, she seemed to.
What did she win?
She didn't win. She didn't win.
You didn't get her a prize to her.
She didn't seem to enjoy it as much as Cecil did, but she tolerated it.
Right.
Yeah. She enjoyed the food.
Yeah.
She thought the food was good.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So anyways, all of that to say,
so tell me more.
So now this was Cecil's case for saying he's a BS expert now.
Yeah. I know more about bees than I thought I would ever know. The guy that spoke was fascinating.
Yeah.
He was like,
life cycle of the bees, kind of, and then of the year, I guess.
We could have a whole other episode on just like the natural fluctuations of the bees. And
there's multiple podcasts that just talk about bees.
I'm sure
every week.
Are they as popular as ours?
I'm sure there's dozens.
No, I'm sure they're not nearly as popular as yours.
Are they beating the quilt podcast? That's all we need.
Yeah, we got to be beating the quilt. They're beating the quilt. If you're not building the quilt.
All right. So that's the intro to why are the bees.
Is there a question in your statement?
Well, the first thing I said about the so-called experts saying that it was the hurricane that forced the bees over, I said, that don't sound right. So I immediately started asking the question. And that's when I sent out to the TDSR staff. And those who are new to the show, TDSR is just our initials for that don't sound right.
Yes.
So TDSR sent out the TDR staff. And those that are also new to listening, just realize our staff is unpaid and there's about 4 of us.
Right.
And some of us don't do anything but make it to the credits every week.
That's right. So, but anyway, the staff, I sent it out to the TDSR staff because I do know that listener number 1 is a bee expert. And I wanted to get some feedback. And I felt like this was worthy of an episode because that don't sound right. So in my conversations with people, I come to find out that, first of all, this bee issue at the school in Forsyth County that meets during the day, they've had this issue before the hurricane struck. Okay, let's just put
I'm not surprised.
Let's put that out there. The second thing is another listener, listener Chuck, where I work, and he has the I've Heard Them All t-shirt.
Okay.
He is in the process of building a new shed in the back. In the process of building a new shed, he had to take out an old shed, clear some land, put in a new shed. And he said he's been overrun with yellow jackets. Like he's never seen it before. And this was all happening well before the hurricane.
Right.
And then even in my own house, last fall, I fought a yellow jacket nest in the side here. And then when I was bringing up the soil in the garden, I guess I unearthed one and they were moving around and they were a little grumpy. Yeah. So the question really is, and the phenomenon is not just yellow jackets, it's also honeybees, is I guess maybe 2 questions to our expert is. The first question, is there any validity to the bees really being stirred up by what's going on in Western North Carolina? And the second thing, is there something globally going on that's causing more of a mass migration, that's causing us to experience more swarms specifically of yellow jackets, but even of the nice honeybee.
So I have opinions.
Yes.
I don't have particularly educated opinions. on
This is
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. So just want to get that out there. First of all, there's honeybees,
yeah.
and then there's Satan spawns, the yellow jacket, which is a wasp, which I have no knowledge of other than they live in the ground, they're mean, and they sting.
Yes.
I don't like them.
Are they classified as wasps?
I think so.
I noticed you just said that.
I said that because I think so.
What's the difference between a wasp and a bee?
Wasp bad, bee good.
Okay.
There you go. That's from the expert.
Yes.
Can't argue with that. Well, you can, but
So-
won't.
So I don't think either problem is resulting from in Forsyth County, resulting from the flooding and a hurricane in the mountains.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay. That's why you're here.
For the honeybees, they are either in beekeepers' beehives or in trees.
Right. They're in elevated locations, right?
And I talked today with two people and asked this question about beekeepers. I did not Google anything, but one of them's my sister. One of them's my mentor, Alicia. They both.
Oh, you asked them
I asked them if there's
anticipation of tonight?
Yes.
Oh, man, that is the best research we can do right now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Probably the most
That is the
research.
best and the most research.
I didn't even know if I was bending the rules by actually asking some of
Oh, no, that's the thing.
No.
We're telling you, go have a conversation
Yes.
with somebody.
Yeah.
So both of them agreed with what my instinct was, which was, hey, the bees down here did not come from the mountains.
All right.
They're either washed away the hive and they killed them, which I have an interesting bee story about a flooded bees that survived, or they just stayed in the trees and were fine.
What if the tree, I mean, one of the things that happened out there, right, is they had some super high wind.
Yeah.
So lots of trees came down. Did
So-
that disturb them?
Yes, I'm sure it would. But so keep in mind, if we're talking about a swarm is a very specific movement of bees in mass with a queen. It's normally in the spring, not always. Something can do it throughout the season, but usually it's in the spring, and they make a second queen. The old queen takes about 60% of the hive, and they move off. This is to ensure the hive lives. They're all about the whole.
And then they don't pick up pieces.
No hive. They
don't pick up any pieces of the hive.
No, they
just go.
consume. They gorge themselves on honey,
Oh, really?
and then they send out scout bees to figure out where they're going to go, and they leave in mass,
No kidding.
and they find a home.
That's fascinating.
So you'll see them when you see bees clustered in a big ball.
Yeah.
Usually it's in the spring. They're usually just waiting for the next home to show up. It's a swarm.
Okay, so they landed on something.
Yeah,
They're just
temporarily. Usually,
They're just waiting to see
we're
what.
going to move into somebody's house or a tree, or a beekeeper may have a swarm trap. I've done that and caught bees that way.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh,
Where do you find these swarms? How do you go looking for them?
No, I either get calls from people on Facebook, or I set traps, which are basically a small hive, and you kind of bait them.
Okay.
And the bees that go out doing the exploratory look will find it and report back. They'll move in.
Okay.
And then take them back to your apiary.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So that's a swarm. If you're seeing random bees, even if it's 50 bees, that's not a swarm. That's just a bunch of bees.
It's more like random bees.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So
with
in the
this random
fall,
honey?
every year,
Yeah.
yellow jackets are their natural foods are drying up. They're hungry.
Yeah.
That's why they're aggressive in the fall.
Yeah.
They're out looking for food. If you have any kind of sweets, they're attracted to that. And they
These
come
are
in-
yellow jackets.
yellow jackets. Yellow jackets nest in the ground.
Right.
And so I can see them being disrupted locally.
Yeah.
I don't know the habits of a yellow jacket, but bees are only going to travel a couple of 3 miles.
Okay.
I can't imagine yellow jackets are going to come 60 miles
Right.
to Forsyth County.
Okay.
I just don't think that's.
I mean, I think that's some important facts for me is that a bee's not going to travel 100 miles to get down here.
I have a theory.
Oh, here we go. Now, this is after going.
He's been to one class. I mean, one meeting.
class.
No,
Yeah,
this
but you
is-
did
this
win a
is-
prize.
He won a
A
prize.
major award.
I'm basically an expert.
He had some fried chicken. He should know.
I listened to an hour lecture on bees. No, this is about yellow jackets because I have a lifelong feud with Yellow Jackets.
I think
I do too.
most people do.
Yeah.
But
Mine
what's
has been
specific?
personal. It's personal.
What's
with me.
specific about your
This is
personal
like,
feud?
yeah, this has been personal. I think they have been able to, over the years, pass down their hatred of me and my hatred of them to other Yellow
They
Jackets.
share that.
Yeah, and they've shared it.
You're probably on a cave writing on a wall. There's a picture of Cecil.
Well, one of them has probably stung you. Now they've got their DNA,
yes.
DNA, and your DNA's been passed on as an individual.
Yeah.
Yes.
They know you.
I know them and they know me. We have had a lifelong battle. But here's what I think happens, and this is what I think is happening out at the schoolhouse, is that it's cyclic. Like, there are some years in my yard, I have multiple Yellow Jacket nests.
Multiple.
Multiple.
Okay.
And then I'll go 3 or 4 years with nothing. And then all of a sudden, they're back. And I'll hit them with the mower, or something will happen. I think this is just the year for them at the schoolhouse.
So last year, I had 3 in my yard.
Yeah. 3 nests.
3 nests.
Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket.
Okay.
This year, I have 1. Most years, I don't have any.
Okay. I don't have any this year.
If there's a global going on, I don't know about. I don't know if this temperature shifts in the earth or impacting the bees and how. I don't have knowledge or even a guess on that.
But I did hear one from someone who was in an area that got flooded, and the second place was a news article that rescue workers did encounter a lot of Yellow Jackets during some of the rescues in the mountains.
See, that makes sense. If your nest was recently flooded and it's just kind of dry, you're maybe you weren't completely flooded, but you're all stirred up.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're angry, and you were in a tree stump that got maybe a dead tree that fell over.
So I did hear that rescue workers actually encountered what seemed to be a higher incidence of stinging insects during rescue.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have an interesting flood story. This is, again, Alicia, my mentor.
About current flood, or is this
I know. This is, so last year, she has hives in a couple of different apiaries. And one is down near the Yadkin River. And I say near, it is, I don't know, a football field away.
Okay.
But it's flat land. Flooding, river got up, out of the banks, washed her. I think she had 3 or 4 hives that basically got washed away.
I see that.
Well, so she and her husband went looking for the hives after things had gone down. And to their surprise, they found, I think, 2 of them with bees still alive.
No kidding.
Them. Yeah. So her husband's allergic. So they moved them out of the bramble they were in. And then I got called in to help move them the rest of the way. But it was completely saturated. We were taking frames out and just shaking, a lot of water out of the comb. But they survived. I mean, the two did. The others she never saw again.
Right.
So they're amazing in what they can withstand. Yeah.
Well, this doesn't sound right, but you have reached the end of this episode of That Don't Sound Right. This has been fascinating, by the way. The more I learn about bees,
it's fascinating to us. The listeners may have other opinions.
Listeners may have other opinions, but yeah, definitely fascinating to us.
Well, before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you, Scott, for being here. I feel like this school out in the country that meets during the day, they really should have called you instead of this so-called expert, because I think you have a better explanation for what's going on. If this is your first time or your 5th time or your 500, well, they couldn't have been 500. We only have 260 episodes, but this is your 260th time and enjoyed the conversation, consider hitting that subscribe button on the platform you listen with. Also, if you're a longtime listener, please give us a rating and leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation.
All right, That Don't Sound Right is a production of TSR Podcast in conjunction with Campbell City Studios. I am your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter is your other host and web designer. Camille is our barista. Emily does our graphic design. Ella does our Instagram. Giorgio tests our merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number 1 is Scott. So until next week, keep talking
and stay curious.